You are watching Pucknology After Dark. Oh my.
Yeah, oh my. Oh my goodness. What the heck happened? The streak will go to over 8 months. Why? Because the give a puck effort was a 4. Welcome to this edition of Pucknology After Dark following a 4-1 Sharks loss to the Winnipeg Jets in the first matchup of the West Side Story series. If you want to be a part of the show, please use the hashtag PucknologyAfterDark to ask questions or comment about the Sharks and the game tonight. You can follow us on Twitter at Pucknology. You can follow myself at PuckGuy14, at Eric Landy, and I read Pucknology, along with the rest of the others right there. Let's be real. Let's not have me go over every single person on the list. Otherwise, Landy will mute me. All right. So the give a puck effort was a 4. We'll find out what everybody else thought. Somebody's mic's really loud all of a sudden. We will say hello to our panel. Ian Reed.
Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm back.
Yes.
Yay.
Hallelujah. He's back. I think we got, 1 or 2 wins while you were gone? Yes. That means the Canadian robot can never leave ever again.
That's right.
And the awesome guy who spells his name the right way, back to you, Mr. Landy.
Huh? What? Oh, were we doing a show? Oh, wait a minute. I guess I'm just kind of mimicking the Sharks there, just kind of tiptoeing into this one again. Yeah, I'm Eric Landy, and I have nothing to say, or I'll get upset.
And with that, good night, everybody.
Good night.
No, I mean, I don't know how many times we have to say it, but just a piss poor effort at home again. It's a broken record. It's something that we really wanted them to have a New Year's resolution to get better at home, and what the fuck do they do? Nothing. Actually, they looked worse than they have in a while at home.
Yeah, that was not pretty at all. It was just over and over. It almost seemed like that first goal, that shorthanded goal, really just kind of started the night, and it's in their heads, guys. There's no doubt about it. It is in their heads that when the opponent scores a first goal at home, they're done for. And every game that the Sharks have played at home this season, the team that scores the first goal wins the game. And the Sharks are 5-11 at home this season, and they're 5-11 when they score the first goal. Ian, welcome back. You've been missed.
Thank you.
What are your thoughts about tonight?
I mean, tonight it was rough because I'm watching. I've got Twitter going while I'm watching the game, and I'm getting all these updates from the Barracuda game, and I'm like, if I wasn't on the show tonight, I would flip to the Barracuda game. I'd been watching that instead because it seemed like it was a lot more exciting than anything that happened in the Sharks game tonight.
It just seems like they just were not in it at all. But any thoughts on what the Barracuda did tonight before we keep jumping on the Sharks?
Yeah, I mean they had a good barn burner game, and they just won it in the shootout. I'm just trying to remember what the final was. I might think that would make it 5-4.
They won?
Yes, yeah, they won 5-4 in the shootout just about 8 minutes ago.
Someone's teaching them to win? What is this?
I don't know.
Reverse day? Opposite day?
Opposite day.
Is George Costanza the next one to drop the puck, or what?
I don't know. I mean, they're playing Bakersfield. I know Bakersfield's probably, they don't have Scrivens anymore, so they don't have their NHL goalie anymore, and they and they've got a lot of guys filling in for injured people up in the Oilers, so they're probably a little bit depleted at this point.
Yeah, well, good for them. That's great. So, yeah. And now Well, where do we start with this one?
I guess let's off the hop. Let's go with the first Winnipeg goal. That horrible giveaway on the power play. That power play epitomized the power play at home all year. The lackadaisical play in their own zone, the just sheer suicidal throw into the middle of the slot when you've got two opposing players bearing down on a single defenseman, and you don't even make a clean pass to him. I don't know what you do to hold them accountable to that, because honestly it was inexcusable. That's like Pee-wee level shit.
Mm-hmm. And it's hard too because I mean, like this, you'd say that's whole, that's so Sharks and everything, but really, like, Ward's not the guy that you expect to make that. Like, if you would have told me, without seeing the game that it was Ward that screwed up, you're like, no, come on, what are you talking about? Without actually seeing it with my own eyes, because like that's just not a mistake that Joel Ward makes normally. But it's just the unfortunate thing is when you see the team do that so many times, it's just. You can't even you want to kind of let him off the hook a little because he's generally making good plays, but then you completely screw the whole thing up. I don't know, it's just they're dumb.
Yeah, I mean, when you make a play like that with a team that's got its shit together, or a team that at least is in desperation mode, you've got to be on top of your game. And making a stupid play like that, even though it's a person that doesn't make stupid plays,
right?
You have no room for error,
yep.
and you're gonna cost yourself every time.
In not getting on consistency at home is just plain inexcusable. I don't care who you are or what you're doing, but you're at home. You are supposed to have the advantage no matter what, and to continue to just go up and down like crazy is not going to cut it, especially if this team gets into the playoffs. And now that's a big if.
At this point,
I want to stay on that home thing for a second though, because I thought it was amusing, like how Jamie and Randy are like, oh yeah, the Sharks have a home heavy schedule, that should work to their advantage. Like, have they watched the Sharks this year?
I think contractually they have to say that.
They have to say that contractually, but yeah. It just, to me, it's just like, have you watched the Sharks this year? Why should that inspire any confidence? Oh, we're going to play most of our games at home. Fantastic. This is going to be an awesome month.
Which begs the question, and this is probably the first time you ever hear somebody say this, oh boy, I can't wait for the Sharks to go out on their February road trip this year.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, it's just brutal. You can empty out the tanks for this one because you don't play again till Thursday. I mean, there should have been a lot better effort, I think, on this, but nonetheless, this really hurts the Sharks as we take a look at the standings right now. Calgary's game has gone final, and the Sharks have the tiebreakers on games in hand and goal differential, which is why they are ranked above Calgary. But right now, a win tonight would have put them over the hump to second in the division, and it just keeps floundering away. Arizona's still finding ways to win, even with Mike Smith gone. They're at 40 points with 18.
Yeah.
Landy with 18.
Rose.
There you go. Thank you. The good news is that even with a point, they would have leapfrogged Vancouver, just because Vancouver just does not like to win in regulation. But the problem is you look underneath. Winnipeg goes to Anaheim tomorrow night. Anaheim with the win will jump up to number 3 and put us further down. And believe it or not, those pesky Edmonton Oilers, those sucky Edmonton Oilers, are at 35 and see the Sharks in the rearview mirror. guys, I don't know what else to cut it, but I mean, this is starting to turn into getting unacceptable.
No, I mean, if you look at their home record from December, and we'll count this January game, they are, let me look at this and get this straight. They're 1-5. 1-5 in December and January on home ice. I I don't know what you do at this point, because right now they're looking like 92-93 Sharks, at home. And this is a team that has historically been so good at home. This is a team that's thrived off the energy at the SAP Center, and it's gone from a place of intimidation to a fucking joke, a joke of a home ice advantage, and they pissed it away in the span of a year and a half, and it just I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand if it's that they don't want to play in front of the fans, if the fans are the ones that they're causing it, if they are gripping the stick too hard at home.
That.
I mean, at this point you have to entertain all possibilities, because
That's dumb though, because I mean, so they can win on the road where obviously every arena is hostile and they can't handle a little hostility in SAP Center. That makes no sense.
well, you've seen their fragile state of mind before.
Yeah, I don't know. I never want to get into a situation where you ever blame the fans. It's never the fans' fault.
Oh no, I'm not saying that it's the fans' fault, because the fans
No, I
have
know,
every
but
right to be pissed off at this team, and frankly, I would have booed them off the ice tonight after that.
they did get booed off the ice.
Yeah, yeah, and you know what? There's a reason why they're not selling out anymore. There's a reason why, because people don't want to be spending their money watching a lackluster effort like that. It's one thing if they're like a Calgary Flames, where they just aren't talented enough, but they're working their asses off, and you can see that, and the fans kind of respond to that. But at this point, with the amount of talent they can ice and the lack of effort, it just and let's not take away anything from Winnipeg. Winnipeg was a desperate team tonight, and they showed it, and they brought it to the Sharks. And you know what? When you've got that power of wills, you saw that Winnipeg just wanted it more, flat out.
And that's the problem, is that they're at home. I guess they're too comfortable, but it just seems like there's no there's no passion, there's no heart into putting into it. You saw what happened on Wednesday night with Joe Thornton. He gets into the game because somebody's agitating him. I mean, shoot, man. I mean, do we need to have somebody piss him off or something? Do we need to have Pavelski come up to him and say, "Hey, Joe, Bufflin's been talking crap about you all day long. Are you gonna take that?" I mean, come on.
And I want to respond to Chris in the chat here. This team is talented. I mean, you've got a player that's averaging over a point a game. That's Joe Pavelski. You've got Brent Burns almost hovering at a point a game. You've got Patrick Marleau now stepping it up with 29 points in 37 games. Jumbo has come alive with 27 points in 37 games. Joel Ward's been a good addition at 35 games played with 24 points. So it's not like this team lacks in talent. And like I have gotten on them before, it's either a breakdown in the defense, or the goaltending doesn't show up, or the forwards don't show up, or the bottom six don't show up. This team can never fire on all cylinders, and the wins that they have been eking out, it's been taking a Herculean effort by Pavelski to get them these wins that they do have. And it's sad, because you see Pavelski doing the most that he can, and you know what? Some of the guys aren't following the lead, and they have the talent. I don't know, I don't know what else to tell you, but it's not that they don't have talent.
Well, and I'll pose this question, which was asked of us on Twitter at Pavs323. Opinion on Mike Richards?
Do we need another 30-plus-year-old forward?
You give him to me at $1 million for a year, or even maybe 2. It's a painless buyout. I'd do it.
Yeah,
you're not paying him the big bucks that LA was.
No,
Originally. Thank goodness.
He's got his buyout money or his settlement money from the thing. I think if you did it for a small amount, again, if you look at some guys just do better with the change environment. Yeah, is there risk? In fact, there's definitely risk there. But if you do what Montreal did with Semin, give him a small paycheck, and then, if you have to get out of it at some point, then it's small and you can get out of it. I think it's worth a shot. Like there's worse ways you can spend $1 million.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, at this point, why not? You try anything. At this point, but I just go back to the fact that this team can't ever put it together. It's either one of the attributes of this team fails them on a nightly basis. Tonight, I think it was a lack of scoring depth. I think it was also a lack of focus on the special teams. And we've seen this up and down roller coaster at home with these special teams, and actually just mostly a downward kind of spiral. We've had a couple of upticks here and there, but that Colorado game really started a bad trend on this PK.
Oh, absolutely. It just threw him off. We thought that he fixed it up against the Flyers, but just a rough night on the power play. A rough night for special teams alone.
Mm-hmm.
When you're giving up a shorthanded goal, you're getting fancy. No, don't get fancy. Go north-south with the hockey. Don't go east-west and try to get fancy. That's what led to that. That's what led to turnovers tonight. Led to that shorthanded goal. I mean, go to the net. I think it was DeMello in the third period. He was trying down by 2 goals. He's skating. He's pinching up on the play, and he drops the puck to nobody. And it turns over. It's like, okay, guys, come on, give me a break.
Yeah, and then for the goal for the what the hell was that kid's name? The Finn that just got his first goal against.
I don't want to talk about Finn players right now.
Oh yeah,
we apologize to all our Canadian viewers. You are in mourning.
This has been a rough hockey game for me.
It's been very rough for not just for you, but I think for all Canada. We will say go USA. Yeah, they did not get on their game too well. The guy was Joel Armia.
Armia.
Armia. NHL goal. I'm going to need to recruit Uncle Darren Stevens to get a count again on how many NHL players have scored their first NHL goal against the San Jose Sharks. I believe we are at 94, if I recall correctly, in franchise history.
Yeah. So I found it kind of funny, but Connor Hellebuyck, yeah, he got first start tonight. I don't think he deserved first start tonight. I think that those shots that he had 28 saves tonight, and I don't think 90% of those were all that high risk situation shots. What do you guys think?
I don't know. I thought he made he made a lot of difficult saves look easy. I found. There's just Hellebuyck. It's kind of his thing though. He's just really calm back there, and I find he does that a lot, where he just makes a lot of difficult saves look easy and doesn't really get all showy about it. Makes a lot of shots look routine.
No, well, you know what? Then hey, that good on him. But yeah, the Joel Armia goal, I didn't like from a goaltending perspective. I thought that Jones was a little backed into his crease a little bit too much. That 5-hole is where it went through, and I've noticed that sometimes he can be a little lazy about closing it up quick. Not as bad as Niemi, but at times I do see it being a little bit of an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't like that Matthew Perreault goal. You shouldn't be scoring that far out. I mean, it was a snipe in the top corner, but still, I don't know. I think you got to have that one.
But at the same time, we're not emphasizing at all that Jones is the problem on this team.
Oh no, I mean,
But it's
I
getting to the point though where like maybe Jones shouldn't get such a pass. I mean, if you look at his when's the last time Jones hasn't let in at least 3 goals?
On it.
Yeah, and that's a good point because you kind of think of him as the number one, but if he's giving up consistently 2 or 3 goals a night, is this a prelude of being too tired, or is this that the Sharks are just giving up way too many scoring chances? Could it be a combination of both? I mean, I don't know at this point, but your other option is Alex Stalock, and I don't know about that.
Yeah, looking at his last 5 games, he is 2-2-1. The only time that he didn't give up 3 goals or more was against Philly on Wednesday night. Tonight he had 3. Philly he let in 2. Against Colorado 5. Against the Kings he won the game but let in 3.
Right.
Chicago let in 4. I mean, I can expand this further, but I mean, I'm not going to read stats.
Yeah, no, but that's how I feel too. I feel like
But the last time he let in less than 3 goals was before Wednesday was December 15th against Montreal at the beginning of the road trip.
Yeah, and you look tonight, Vlasic was a -2, Hertl was a -2, Donskoy was a -2, Burns was a -2. Just not getting it done, man. And when your number one defenseman is going a -2 with 21 minutes of ice time, not good. Not good at all. It's at this point. At this point, I don't see this team being a playoff team if this home road split continues this way. If they don't pick it up I think if in the next 3 or 4 games, if they don't pick up the pace here at home, this season's just going to roll by the wayside, and it's just going to pass them up.
It's like it's their February already.
At home. On the road, fine. You know what? They're pretty good. They're one of the best teams on the road. But at home, if you can't get it done at home, what's the sense of even going out on a road trip? You're already going to be so way behind the 8 ball that you're not going to be in any place to move up in the standings. Yeah. And the way that everybody else is picking it up, I just have that feeling that it's going to be all like last year all over again. They're just going to get rolled up at home, and the season's going to pass by.
On the chat here, Rocket with the hashtag that I think we should start using, hashtag That's So Sharks. Our friend Slushy Jake, good evening to you, sir. Demers is a +16, 8th in the league.
He plays on Dallas, one of the best defensive teams in the league. I mean,
one of the best offensive teams, right? So correct. He's probably on the ice a lot.
He's getting defensive zone starts like crazy, I'm sure. Yeah. He's playing with. I mean, he's just like he wasn't. I really hate these comparisons because when we traded him, he was a third pair defenseman at best in San Jose. He's one of their top defensemen in Dallas right now. Would he get that being right-handed shot? Is he going to get those opportunities in San Jose? No, of course he's not. He's not better than Braun. He's not better than Burns. He's not going to get those. He's still third pairing guy on our team. He goes to Dallas, who has a completely horrendous D-core, and suddenly he's top dog. I mean, that's all there is to it.
We got Chester Chivo chiming in. He's asking how far out of third in the Pacific do the Sharks need to become sellers at the deadline? Do you guys have a magic number in hand?
You gotta be at least I would think 12 to 14 points out.
Yeah, I was on the 10-point side, but
Yeah, I still think 10 points is still within it now at this rate. I mean, a 5 game winning streak and they're right back in it. And I mean, who are they again? Vancouver. You can take them on rows so easily. You can, Arizona. They can't keep this up. There's no way that they can keep this up. And if they can, then it's going to make the Sharks develop a whole lot worse because you have two newbies come into Arizona and change the morale of the team like that.
Here,
And Calgary's just had a horrible start. Their goal differential is so putrid that right now that's what's keeping the Sharks above them in the standings, and they're still behind. I mean, the one team that you would have to worry about would be Anaheim, and they're on the verge of passing them right now.
Here's the thing too, though. I mean, because you say things like, well, Arizona can't keep this up, Vancouver can't keep this up, Calgary can't keep this up. I'm sure that Arizona can keep up being the 18th place team in the entire NHL. I'm sure Calgary can keep up being the 23rd best team in the NHL. I mean, when you look at the Sharks are 21st in the league. Like these teams, it's not like these teams are good. They're just all crappy together in the same division, which kind of just it's this weird thing that's happening in the Pacific where all these teams are just bad. It's just who can be the least bad, and that's going to be the teams that make the playoffs, other than the Kings, who I think are sitting like third in the NHL right now.
# Southeast Division.
Right. No, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think Chester, the thing to think about, though, is at the end of the year where the Sharks team is at. If this Sharks team failed to make the playoffs in dramatic fashion, I would assume that you're going to see a very big blockbuster happen at the draft, because there's no way that if Wilson is still employed, he will not have a first-round pick. I could see something like a Couture or a Hertl or a Pavelski. I don't think anybody is safe if this team is really bad at the end of the year.
And that you bring up a good point, and let's talk about Hertl. He's done well defensively, and in his faceoffs he's been all right, but 4 goals on the year. I don't think you can use he's a centerman, he has more defensive responsibility excuse anymore. Well, if you want, he's on the third line and fourth line tonight, but I mean,
okay, all right. Let's talk about Hertl and what he was projected at the time of his draft. Bob McKenzie looked at this kid and said, Thornton is going to age out. This kid plays in the vein of Thornton. He idolized Jágr growing up. So, in my mind, he was kind of always a pass-first kind of player to begin with. People making him out to be this prolific sniper, I don't think, realize the kind of vision and the kind of playmaking ability he had.
Right.
So, if Hertl, let's say, ends the season, let's say at 50 points, which would be a stretch for him now, but, let's say he did a 15-35 split. 15 goals, 35 assists. I'd be pretty happy with that. I don't think his ceiling is anything higher than a 25 goal scorer, but I think his assist could be pretty high. And I don't think that we should look at Hertl as trying to be this Patrick Marleau-esque scorer. He's not a purebred sniper. He's a playmaker, and that's his job. And if he's setting up people at, like I said before, a 40-point clip, then I'm happy with that. I don't know about you guys, but that's what I see him as.
Yeah, I mean, when Kurz was talking, when I was gone, I noticed on Twitter Kurz was talking about how, how Hertl, it's amazing to him how Hertl just can't get scratched, right? And I don't get that. I kind of made a couple tweets of my own, and I got into kind of an argument on Twitter, which is just not really uncommon for me. But my point was basically like if you want Hertl, if the goal is you want Hertl to get a ton of points, then put him back on the top line with the Joes, and he'll probably rack up a ton of points because he has enough common sense to figure it out and score goals. But if you're going to leave him in the third line with either, you know, guys like Nieto and Wingles who can't find a goal, or on the fourth line with God knows what we put on our fourth line, then what do you want? Like, I mean, like, you know, it's like Landy says, you know, this is a guy who's going to need some finishers with him. If you want him to get a bunch of points, he's a guy that needs some finishers, and he hasn't been playing with finishers, and he can't carry the offensive load by himself because he's not the second coming of, you know, of Wayne Gretzky. Well, amazing. So, you know, I don't get it. Like, if you want him to score a lot of points, then put him up on the first line and stop this thing. But I think if you want, you know, and you can do that, and you'll make the bottom six worse for it. So you kind of have to choose your poison here. Do you really want, you know, to have a third line forward, you know, centerman who's going to win you draws because he's one of the best guys on draws that we've had on the team this year? And if you want, you know, solid possession numbers and you want guys, give him some finishers and see what can happen. The problem is the guys they don't give him, you know, you've got them generally with Nieto, can't finish. You know, Donskoy, love his work, but not exactly been a great finisher in the NHL so far. Tommy Wingles, I don't even know what the fuck Tommy Wingles is anymore. You know, and then, you know, don't even get me started on the fourth line of stupidity. So I don't know where you're supposed to get all these points from.
Yeah, and I think going forward, you kind of look at him being, you're penciling him as your 1A, 1B, and I wouldn't be surprised if you had a first line composed of him, Meyer, and Goldobin for a long time. Mm-hmm. You know, and those three would how you would make up a very good top line once they've all kind of developed out into their projected roles. He's going to be that Thornton-esque passer. You don't want him. I mean, it's not that you don't want him sniping because he can do it, but his primary job is to get goal scorers the puck and to make dazzling plays to get him the puck, setting up behind the net and feeding guys out for one-timers, feeding guys out right in the slot and making a living 10 feet in front of the paint. That's his job. You know, the guy that we saw with that trick shot and putting Martin Biron in retirement, I think that was an aberration. I don't think that was the norm for him. And while that was certainly a special night and a special goal, you know, how many times does that come around for a player that's not named Lemieux or Gretzky or Hull or whatever? You know, it's a one-off, an aberration, and you don't put that kind of pressure on that kid that early to be the second coming of one of these great elite players. You can't do that to a kid that young.
No.
And you see him unfortunately still lack a little bit of maturity. You know, you see him with the minions and, you know, kind of all that kind of stuff. And while it's fun and cute and nice, I mean, he's supposed to be an NHL player, and I don't know that many NHL players are like that. You know what I mean? So as much as we think he's cute, you know,
we just don't usually see it. I mean, there might be some players that hide it and, you know, have their fun must be always. But you're right. My point is this about the offensive struggles with Hertl is if he's able to put up the points and we need the goals and assists, put him up higher up and see what he can do with Hertl and Pavelski. Yeah, you're going to take a hit on your bottom six, but you're going to have to take the hit for it if you're going to need the goals.
Yeah, the problem is you're going to either force Tierney back to the third line, and then God knows who plays the fourth. That's the only problem there.
Yeah, I mean, if you bring in Mike Richards, you're basically conceding the fact that Tierney's not ready yet, and you're putting him back on the Barracuda, which would be fine. But you'd have him slot as your fourth line center. Couture, I mean, I don't know what you do with him now because you're now saying that Marleau's your second line center. And
you just need Couture to get back up to game speed, and the only way he's going to do that is play games.
Right.
True, true. But I mean, I hope that he's not irreparably damaged after this whole sequence this year. But
Well, and even Kurz mentioned that tonight was that Couture has been concerned, and it's in his head now that
Hmm.
that his ankle or his lower leg isn't gonna be the same as it used to be, and he's just got to work around that. The problem with that is that if that gets into your head and you're struggling, that's gonna take you off your game so quickly, and then you're in deep shit. Back to you, Landy.
yeah, no, I agree. You look at players that have sustained very big injuries and not come back as strong. Although you have seen freaks of nature like Eric Carlson and Steven Stamkos who suffer catastrophic injuries and come back really well, but they're elite level talents. And do we think that Couture is that player? I don't know. I mean, I think he's probably in that second tier of elite players, but I don't know that he has the work ethic / like health habits and stuff like that a Steven Stamkos or Carlson has.
Couture definitely has the heart. I mean, we've seen that. He wants to do whatever it takes to win. There was even that rumor report that he called out Marlowe, saying that this team won't win a cup with Marlowe in it. That was supposedly rumbling around, social media. The kid wants to win. He wants to do whatever it takes. I mean, we saw him against LA in the 2013 playoffs where he was hurt with like a knee injury, comes back, he wins the game on a power play goal, but he's hurting so bad that he celebrates really quick and then runs right off to get treatment. Uh, I mean, this season, I think within between now and February 29th at the trade deadline, you have to figure out what your team is, who's going to stay here, because if you have Goldobin, with the Barracuda, you have Jeremy Waugh in juniors, you have Rourke Chartier that was playing well for Team Canada at World Juniors, still in Kelowna, right? And then
Kevin LeBlanc, you have Timo Meyer, you have Goldobin,
you have to start thinking, okay, who's expendable right now? Is Nieto expendable?
Oh,
Is
yeah.
Ingles expendable? Is
Yeah.
Brown expendable? Is Hooper's expendable? I mean, don't choke, Ian, please. We need you. We have hopefully 5 more months of this to go.
All right.
But my point is that if there's something you can get right now, go out and get it, because Nieto is making Torrey Mitchell look like a good hockey player right now. Wingles is trying to be is trying to be the tough guy, I guess.
He's like post San Jose Ryan Clough.
Well, yeah, but the problem is that he's not putting in his scoring touch. Yeah, he's mixing it up, but I mean, let's be real here. When Tyler Myers was going after him after he hit Enstrom, you're almost saying you're putting up me, which I'm 5'8", against Chara.
Yeah, I like that, and I like a little bit of snarl in his game, but you've also got to back it up with some scoring, and
This guy should be a 20-goal scorer.
At least. And right now he's sitting at 9 points. 9 points for Tommy Wingles. 3 goals, 6 assists. That's just not going to cut it. Any way you slice it, it's not going to cut it. And Matt Nieto's worse. He's got 8 points in 34 games. Yeah, both of them are minus players. Wingles is an atrocious minus 12. Nieto is a minus 5. Those guys cannot continually be trotted out on that third line and expect anything to be different. I mean, these guys are complementary players at best right now. They're not play drivers at the moment.
Noah Rod, like a couple of people said on the chat.
Yeah.
World Junior.
Yeah, very good World Junior.
But I mean, that's where you have to start thinking, okay, are these guys going to be here long term? No, they're probably Tomas Plihal and Patrick Miller.
Yeah.
Then, but the other thing is that you've put a lot of pressure on this team, and especially on Martin Jones when you traded that first round pick away. And if that turns out to be a top 10 pick, let alone if Boston ends up winning the lottery out of nowhere, because hashtag that's so Sharks, and ends up getting Austin Matthews, holy crap, that's
Uh,
an
uh,
awful nightmare.
yeah, I mean, look, Austin Matthews is going to be a good player. But would it have been as bad as, let's say, the Sharks losing their pick this previous draft, and them and whoever taking that pick winning the lottery and getting Connor McDavid? No, it's not the end of the world, but it is pretty shitty, and it's definitely the death knell for Doug Wilson, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Oh, absolutely. I think, like, to me, that's the point I'm at with this season now. The point of this that I'm at with this season is if we make the playoffs and our pick isn't a lottery pick, that's a winning season for me, baby. I'll take it. Because hopefully it shows the Sharks that, A, we're not just a couple of small tweaks away. You're going into the last season of Marleau and Thornton's contracts, and I think that should, show that, okay, look, I love Patrick Marleau and I love Joe Thornton. Like, these are some of my favorite players of all time. But I'm not going to cry if they're not back in teal after next contract. I just, I know a lot of people would like to see Patrick Marleau retire a Shark, and I get that sentiment, but if you want to keep only one of them, I'm keeping Joe. And honestly, I would rather them not keep either and actually just accept the fact that it's time to start, looking past the Joe Thornton, Patrick Marleau years.
Yeah,
Because,
to me, I think to me they haven't earned the right to retire in teal. After looking at the previous seasons, and really I'm putting that collapse on the Marleau Thornton, on those two.
mhm.
That the fact that they could not, we're still talking about this, but they could not close that series out, is proof in the pudding that they don't deserve the retirement in teal for me.
It's not even that. It's just if you look at the way teams are built now, teams aren't built with their star players being in their late 30s. Teams that are winning now, their star players are younger. They're in their 20s. And the Sharks, if they want to compete especially in this conference and in this division, with the way that the rest of the teams are coming up, when you look at guys like Johnny Gaudreau and you have Bennett and guys like that in Calgary, and then you have McDavid, Draisaitl, the list goes on in Edmonton, and and the Kings they've had younger guys, and the Ducks, they for some reason they still have, yes, their star guys are getting older, but they have guys like Nick Ritchie in the pipeline, and they still manage to keep churning out a couple of young guys every year. It seems like there's guys in Anaheim that come out of nowhere. And and the Sharks, it's always just it's the Thornton Marleau show, and it's run its course. And like I said, I love these guys. These guys, forever grateful to have them and watch them in teal, even though we didn't win a cup. But if you want to be competitive, then it's time to stop being sentimental, and it's time to start looking at things realistically. And realistically, another 3 or 2 years of Marleau and Thornton isn't going to win us anything. It's just going to prolong the inevitable, and the inevitable is that this team needs to rebuild. And if you think that Shark fans aren't going to suffer through a rebuild, they will, because they're not going to suffer through this either. If you keep them as this crappiness, at least if you give them actual, real, legitimate hope that when you start seeing young guys coming in, things will turn around. But when you have it's constantly still Thornton Marleau, and they're just getting older, I mean, fans aren't going to keep buying that pill. Sorry.
Right, and the other thing too is that this team desperately needs some team chemistry. They need an identity, which is something we've been preaching for God knows how many years overall. But this team needs a player that is going to be a household name. And I say that because I was watching the local sports report before Sharks pregame live, and it was all about. I mean, they even had in the news. Sharks used to have like I think close to 200 consecutive sellouts. I never heard them talk about the Sharks sellout streak, but they definitely mentioned the Warriors 150 consecutive sellout streak. The news, in the middle of the news tonight, they mentioned uh, the Warriors and Stephen Curry talking about how he was going to be back tonight and how it was be a huge help. They also mentioned on how many players they had injured tonight. But you know what they did? Besides show about the, I think it's the TaxSlayer.com Bowl and Penn State losing to Georgia and all that good stuff, they didn't mention one thing about the San Jose Sharks. And the huge factor right now is getting a guy like Pavelski, but on a higher term, to stand out and make some big plays because this team desperately needs a guy to sell tickets for and to get the media interested in the team again because it's just not going to cut it because Goldova, if these guys were good, they'd be up here and just slaying everybody in the NHL.
Chester Chivo says it's all Dustin Brown's fault.
Well,
Absolutely.
think about it. Or if you want to be in layman's terms, Hertl isn't the same since he got hurt. And
No.
maybe that's the psyche, like I mentioned about Logan. Maybe it's in his head about his knee injury, which
Yeah.
sucks. Kevin Lacey, 22. Trades have been on my mind all evening. Who have the Sharks traded with the most in their history?
I have no idea off the top of my head.
Traded with the most. I mean, they've done a lot of trades with Minnesota before. That there's a good connection with Fletcher and DW.
Minnesota.
Yeah. Trying to see who else does he like to trade with? He's traded with
Minnesota.
That's what I said.
Minnesota.
That's Fletcher, right? And then New York with what's his face still running it over there. He made a couple. Yeah. Trying to think who else made big trades with. Made a trade with Chicago. Not very often, but some. I don't know. Give me a minute. I'll do some research.
Yeah, I don't. Off the top of my head, I have no idea.
Yeah, but it does make
Boston,
weird
yeah.
sense that, yeah. I mean, he's traded with Boston a few times. I mean,
oh, Carolina.
Yeah,
Carolina was the other one. So Carolina and Minnesota have been his primary trade partners, I think, because you look at how many times we've gotten shit from Carolina, you know.
Why can't we just drop Columbus like the Kings do?
Oh my God, yeah. Let's not even talk about that. I swear, it's like Dean Lombardi has some like file cabinet where he's got all other 29 GMs. He's got like photos and he's got like internet history, and he's like, I'm gonna leak this shit if you don't give me something good.
If you don't give me your best player that wants out.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
All
right.
Oh, New Jersey's another one that he's.
Oh yes, because that was the first team that we were molding our team around. You know, it was the New Jersey mold, how we were going to build offensively and build from the goal out. You know, and then it became
Build every team.
Like, you know, then we're gonna be like Detroit, and then I forget who else we were gonna be. Oh, then we're gonna be this fast skating, freewheeling team. Because that's what the lockout's gonna. Once the season comes back, once the canceled season comes back, it's gonna be so far-fetched, and they're gonna call everything, and they can't stop our speed. Oh wait, my bad.
You know what's interesting though, and that we've talked about it a few times, but this team just needs a physical spark plug, and because when you had Torres be injected in the lineup, that the team just responded so well to his energy and presence on the ice. But also, I look at when Brent Burns was put as a forward, and I'm not saying that he needs to be a forward. I'm just saying that wrecking ball mentality and that physical, just throwing your body at everything, that for some reason this team loves to solidify itself when you have that wrecking ball on the ice. And they just play differently when they have somebody of that ilk play. And I don't know who you look at right now in the NHL that is of that kind of mold. But if you could find somebody that really just pushes this team forward, in that respect, you might be able to salvage something. You might be able to energize this team again.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, I mean, the goal scoring and the beautiful playmaking, while it's very nice to watch and stuff, this team doesn't really rally around that. They rally around big hits. And it's kind of been like that for the last 7-8 years. It's like whenever they play the body, they just mentally engage. They put all of their eggs into that basket, and they inevitably outmuscle the other team.
Chris is saying, do we have anything to lose by putting Burns to forward at this point? Just because I want to have AJ call it and yell at us.
No. Oh,
I'm just trying to wake up AJ. It's just me.
His spidey senses just kicked in.
And joining us now.
Again, we can go back to it, but who are you going to put in that spot?
Terrible defense.
Yeah, nothing that you have at this point is reliable enough, even if you're trying to replace Burns.
Yeah.
As a defenseman. I see that argument all the time, and it's like, okay, you want to neuter that blue line even more? Be my guest.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, everything's so...
what I'm doing is I'm kind of sneaking into the hashtag SJ Sharks on Twitter and seeing what that's like. Like one person.
Does Mike Brown play defense?
Oh, why the heck not? Come on.
Oh, Rocket says we were going to move Wingles to D. Watch him blossom. Shit, well, he's not scoring now. Fuck it. Let's put him on the blue line.
Why not? At this point, why not? We're oh, God. But basically, going through the Sharks official hashtag, I know that the SJ Sharks loses games. What's up with them this season? Captain Pass is good, but the other players, it's bad. Poop emoji. I see one fan talking about he has a half-season ticket plan, and except for the home opener against Anaheim, every other game's been a stinker. I mean, it's just 19 minutes ago, the SJ Sharks, and it's a GIF of, a GIF, right,
Mm-hmm.
Gen X, a GIF, Gen X,
GIF,
of SpongeBob SquarePants pulling out the boring rainbow.
It was a rough game to watch. Like I said, if I wasn't on the show tonight and I actually had to know what the hell I was talking about, I probably would have changed my hockey streams over to the Barracuda game. I'm not lying.
A couple of quotes coming out right now. DeBoer has, "I don't have an explanation." Wow.
Well,
wow.
I mean, how many fucking times have we heard that record? I mean, Jesus fucking Christ, get your asses in gear.
This is
taking a page of the T-Mac book, I see.
No, that's taking a page out of the Mike Singletary, but or I don't know. We'll have to look at the film and
Let's look at the film. Books indeed.
Rich Esports also has another quote on DeBoer. quote, "We're in no position to play a game like that. We have a big standings board in our room. We know where we're at." Well, if you know where you're at, then you should have put up a lot better effort.
Yeah, no, if they knew where they're at, then why the fuck was their head so far up their ass on that first power play? I mean, that did not look like a team that said, "Uh-oh, we've gone out of the playoff picture now. We got to get it back into gear." No, that looked like, "Oh, we're just going to be lackadaisical. Yeah, we've got some games in hand. No big deal. We'll pick it up somehow." That's what that team was. Oh my god. Oh, it's so infuriating. It really is, because there is no excuse for a piece of crap that bad on that power play. There's no excuse.
AJ actually retweeted Kurz's tweet that has a full comment about DeBoer. He says, quote, "That was an egg. I don't have an explanation. Top to bottom, really poor effort, poor execution, sloppy, soft." Well, you coach this team. You're supposed to, do something different, because right now you're looking worse than McCollin, and which makes Wilson look worse than Lombardi. And Lombardi was really hated here in San Jose, and it doesn't help that he's won 2 cups down south either. It's I just was curious about what. I was just curious to see what the SG Sharks tweets look like right now, and it's getting old. It's getting old, and the fans are fed up. The fans want to win, and they're seeing piss poor performance. And let's be real here. You have 4 days to change it up, and we all know how well these guys play when they have time off.
I mean, at this point, have we seen any real change from this coaching staff? I don't have any faith that they're going to get it together.
And that's the thing, is if this thing keeps spiraling down, do you look at the coaching staff?
No, I mean, yeah, no, maybe so. I mean, I don't know. Like, what do you do? Do you, do you become the Washington Capitals and just go through, 17 coaches in 4 years? Like,
yeah, well, you know what should have happened is let's face it. They should have pulled out all of the money and all the stops for Mike Babcock.
Babcock wasn't coming here. Didn't matter.
Well, he did interview here, and he wanted to get feelers out everywhere. I'm sure if they would have paid the money, he would have came here, because God knows Toronto sucks ass, and they're not going to be good for another 5 years.
Yeah, but at least they're doing everything right. I mean, this is the problem in San Jose. The problem in San Jose isn't stop at scouting. The problem is they need to do what Edmonton did last summer. They need to do what Toronto did last summer. They need to clean from top to bottom.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. I can't agree with you more than that. They need to make the playoffs. I think we can all agree with that. They need to make the playoffs, because they do not want that lottery pick ending up, because we all know, hashtag that's so Sharks, that if our pick that goes to Boston is a lottery pick, it's going to probably be like in the top 3. And that's the last thing that this team needs. But let's talk about. We'll talk about Thursday first before we talk about.
We did have a Slushy Jake question that was kind of interesting. We should take it before we start wrapping this up.
Okay.
Because of the whole David Rundblad on waiver situation, and should or should not the Sharks pick him up, he asked, who was the last Shark to be picked up on waivers? Wellwood?
Yeah, I think Wellwood.
That's what I think, but I know the last guy that got claimed on waivers was
McLaren.
No, it was wasn't it McGinn?
McGinn.
Oh,
Baby
McGinn,
McGinn.
that's right. Yeah, Ty McGinn, because we gave up a 3rd-round pick to Philly for that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Great job there, Dougie. The guy got hurt. Guy couldn't do anything, and he gave him a 3rd-round pick, and then he goes to Arizona for nothing. Yeah. Back to you, Landy.
Oh, God. This team. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how to
Beautiful.
fix it besides, completely nuking the front office, which should have happened a year and a half ago.
So that's it, and that's kind of where I'm at. Like the front office needs to get gutted. They need to go through. We need to stop worrying about who wore a teal jersey at some point in time when deciding who's in the front office. Like we just need to get good people for the job, and it doesn't matter if they're alumni or whatever. Like we have to get past this. Oh, but I like that guy. Well, you know what? I like a lot of guys too. But if they're not getting the job done in their front office positions, then they need to go away. And until we do it, like it's going to be a slow, painful thing that and every year we put it off. Every year that we sit here and try to find a few more pieces to go at it one more time. Like that's, it's going to be Calgary from a few years ago all over again, where you're just going to finish just out of the playoffs. You're not going to have any picks because the cupboard's empty because you keep trying to get into the playoffs, and and eventually there's pain coming. And I wish the Sharks would just tear the damn Band-Aid off and get it done instead of pulling a little bit off at a time. Like, yes, it's gonna hurt, guys, and I'm not gonna lie. Like, you guys can sound like you guys can look back at me in a year if we actually did this and be like, Ian, the Sharks are fucking terrible now. What have you done? But you know what? That's what has to happen.
And let's put it this way: if we tear it down and there will be pain, it's not as bad as 11-71-2.
But no one's ever going to be that bad again because there's no such thing as ties anymore.
Slushy Jake says, I bet our new GM's going to be Jimmy Rutherford.
Oh, man.
I love it. Oh, that was good.
Because that's worked for Pittsburgh really well.
Yeah, that worked really well for Pittsburgh.
Oh.
Right.
Oh, by the way, Chester Chivo is going to start a GoFundMe page to produce attack ads against Doug Wilson.
That's for you, Chester. You've been on point all night. All right, quickly we will because somebody has to go to bed and we'll be at work at 5 a.m. Let's talk about Thursday night against the Detroit Red Wings, where there'll probably be more red than teal in there for Igor Larionov Alumni Night.
Ooh.
I miss you, Igor.
They're actually flying in a guy to do an Alumni Night. That's amazing.
He's the professor. You fly him in.
You give him what he wants. It's the fucking professor. If anything, he should be the fucking head scout of the Sharks.
He's too busy making bank as an agent.
Yeah, well,
that's true. That's true. But somebody like that who played the game and played the game well. No disrespect to Mush, Reach, Dirk Graham.
Sanderson, right? Isn't he the European scout?
Sundstrom.
Yeah, Sundstrom.
Sanderson, Sundstrom.
Yeah.
Oh, Igor is on January 18th versus Ottawa, Eric.
Yeah, Eric. Shit.
You know what? You guys are going to be like Doug Wilson, and I'm going to be like Joe Thornton, and I'm going to tell you to shut your mouth.
All right, so are we?
I'm going to go in the meeting and I'm going to tell everyone that everything's totally cool between us, and you're not. I don't know why you're so angry.
Yes.
So let's take predictions. The Sharks going to shit the bed on Thursday?
Yes.
Eric?
They do get up for Detroit, but at the same time, they'll have 4 days to practice how they're going to pass it to each other on the power play.
Depends on who's in net. I think if Howard's in net, we seem to have Howard's number. Yeah. But if Mrazek's in net, I'm a little more worried.
Yeah. I say they're going to have the Hershey squirts in bed, and it's going to be a 5-2 loss.
Ooh.
That's where I'm going.
Wow, that's a great visual.
Yep. They're just going to shit all over the bed because they're wearing that beautiful jersey, and they're going to do it wrong, like they always do.
Of course.
Everything's cursed. Alumni's cursed, Black Armor's cursed, Teal's cursed, SAP's cursed. They should
Burn
just
it
left
all!
it with the HP Center.
Burn it all! Torch it!
They would have left the HP Pavilion, none of this would have ever happened.
All right, Eric, take us home.
All right. So that's coming up there. I believe we are going to have our anniversary special on Monday. Yeah,
Hey.
it'll be 1 year since we started the live broadcast version of this program. Of course, this all started with me and Gentry walking back to an iPhone video camera, but the live editions didn't start until January 4th. That's kind of the halfway point, so we'll kind of talk about the grades of the team on there. But then Thursday, 7:30, Sharks, Red Wings. You know you're going to be there for that one. You got to be there, just like AJ would say on the commercial. But after the game, join us. We will have plenty of talk about hopefully a Sharks win. And if not, we start seeing heads roll because you can't go 5-12 at home and let it be okay.
With this regime, I bet it will be.
And I just want to point out that Doug Wilson let an all-star walk away this summer for nothing.
Yeah.
An all-star captain, no less.
Yes, that's right. We should congratulate John Scott for being named captain of the Pacific Division in the 2016 NHL.
I think it's
All-Star
fitting.
Game.
The Pacific Division's garbage, and we have a garbage player captain.
I
love John Scott, the guy, but I mean, as a hockey player, I mean, he's a perfect representative for what the Pacific Division is this year.
I can't wait for him to do the accuracy shooting event at the All-Star Game.
Oh man.
Or the fastest skater.
You know, I just see the visualization of Taylor Hall and maybe Max Domi as his two little sled mongers, and he's whipping them, you know, to mush.
You know what I'd like to see him do? You know they have that little like relay, and you have to put the puck in the little tiny net, like the saucer pass. That's what I want to see him do. And we'll be there for and they'll be like, and John Scott's still doing the saucer passes, and we're just gonna turn off the lights now.
So are we gonna call this post-Teal syndrome, Eric?
I think you have to. I think you have to. And technically, guys, John Scott's been named to an NHL All-Star game before Joe Pavelski has. Let that sink in for a moment.
But I mean, at the same time, though, I mean, I see some of that, and it's just kind of like, don't worry, guys, the Sharks gonna go. Like, it's fine. Don't worry. Someone from the Sharks is gonna be there.
Well, part of the whole thing was for us not to vote for a Shark, so that way they get rest for the rest of the year. Now we may end up having two Sharks go in and have John Scott.
Hey,
We should have kept him. I mean, we should have kept him. I'm sure we could have.
we could send Mike Brown, John Scott. Who else can we put on there?
Hell, Rafi Torres. We should have
There you go.
Rafi on there. Next year will be Rafi Torres. All right. With that, we will go get out of here.
Oh, Chester Chivo. Sorry, this is the last one. This puts the icing on the cake. John Scott named to an All-Star game before a drafted Sharks defenseman.
I think Ozolinch was a draft.
Yeah, I think so.
So,
sorry, Chester. I tried to get you
Chester.
on there.
I know what you were trying to get at, so that's totally legit, but you're off by one because Ozo was in there. All right. Till Monday night and Thursday night for our entire staff, including Ian Reed and Eric Landy. No, I'm not going to go through all the names. I'm going to spare you. Good night. Keep it real. Keep it fresh. Keep it real fresh. With a win, please.